Tony Mowbray, sailor, adventurer, or just a bloke from Belmont?
Just a bloke from Belmont, mate. Simple as that.
That's your catch cry, isn't it?
It sort of is, but it's true. I am just a bloke from Belmont. I was born in Belmont. I went to Belmont Infants, Belmont Primary, Belmont High School, Belmont Tech College.
Yeah.
Just a bloke from Belmont. I still live in Belmont.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's the centre of the universe,
I was
mate.
about to say that's is it the infant school? Is that the one that's on the main road across from the TAFE?
No, that's why I went to originally. Yes, exactly.
Because it's sitting there dormant.
It's all dormant.
And I always...
It's such a shame.
I've walked past every now and then and I go, wow, just the memories that would be in that schoolyard.
I can still remember the smell when I was like 6 years of age in the classroom.
Did you carve your name in the...
No, I don't think so. I was a good boy back then. I went downhill slightly, just a little bit after that.
I just described you myself, but what would your mates call you?
Full of myself.
Now that'd be your brother, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be my brother. Yeah, because I'm my brother's brother, you know. I'm Trevor Mowbray's brother. It's not the other way around.
I was going to get to that because he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder about that, hasn't he?
Oh, a little bit.
Well, I was going to introduce you as Trevor's brother.
But he's adopted, so it's okay.
Is he going to find this out today, is he?
I tell him that all the time. Because he's got calf muscles and I haven't, you know.
Just back from a trip, up the coast. Was it how many weeks?
4 weeks and 1 day.
Was it a work and play trip?
Oh, predominantly play. I went to the dark side about 6 months ago and bought a caravan. Carolyn and I bought a caravan, and we just wanted to experience that and have a crack and see what it was like.
There it is.
What everyone's raving about, because you only got to walk down a street and you see 4 caravans parked out the front of 4 different houses. That's her.
Is it driving that down the Pacific Highway more dangerous than the Sydney to Hobart?
Oh, well, it's different experiences. But let me tell you, there's been a couple. I sideswiped a telegraph pole in Brisbane with it and took out part of the awning. There wasn't a lot of damage. Oh, look, each to their own. Each has got its own tests, but some of the rigs that go past you, you're doing 95 in the left-hand lane, and some of those big rigs that go past you, that's pretty scary.
You get
stuff.
tailgated?
Yeah, and you're just a gossamer thread away from death, really, with those things.
I don't get it. Even going up, I work up the bay every day, and that stretch just past Fern Bay to get to Williamtown, it's almost like if you're not doing the speed limit, and this is like, it's crazy.
Horrifies me.
But I don't get it because it's like, what's the rush?
You're going to get there 10 seconds early if you do.
And the problem now with so many potholes, there's a pothole just before that little bridge, and if you're not driving that way all the time, your first reaction when you see a pothole,
yep, of course,
into oncoming
over
traffic.
the line.
Just
we're just a hair's breadth away all the time, really, in so many ways. So it's been a bit of fun. We bought the van, and we wanted to just. We had no aspirations to do a trip around Australia or go away for 6 months or anything. But we've just got back a few hours ago, as you know, and we had a great time for 4 weeks, and we found out a lot of things. We now realise a lot of things, and we're keen to go again. But we think we'll just do it in 1, 2, maybe 3 week stints.
Look, I'm not a camper. Or into caravans, but I get it that people love it. But they just seem like bloody hard work.
Oh, I think you've got to be of a certain mental makeup to want to do it, for 6 months at a time. It's not my bag. I've got so much going on in my head and things to do and places to go still, and just sitting still in the one spot. And then relocating a few days later to the same sort of spot again, not my bag, really.
When I worked for NBN News, it was around Christmas time, and then around that time, there's a lack of stories. So we'd always used to go up to usually the bay to a caravan park and get the pilgrimage. The same people every year sit in the same spot.
That's it.
Next to the person. Yep. And as we drove in, I was with a cameraman and there was kids jumping in front of us and balls and bikes, and we're like stopping.
That's it.
And I turned to the cameraman and I said, mate, this is my idea of fucking hell. And these people are loving this, and they're all sitting there. But it wasn't until after we left, because again, these are all most of them are from Western Sydney.
Yep.
And they're all up there. They all know each other.
That's
same
it.
thing. And I said, I get it now. And he said, what do you mean? I said, these people, I don't think get a sense of community throughout the year, and this little pocket is the time they probably don't even talk to their neighbours when they get back home.
That's it.
And here they are loving it because it's almost like the only time that they get sort of, which I don't know. I just find that in a way it's great, but in a way it's sad as well, isn't it?
It is, exactly. I've come to realise a few things about caravanning life over the last few weeks, Karen and I have. And one of the things, and I know there's going to be a lot of people watching this podcast that are dog lovers, and I perfectly get that and I respect that. So I'm not having a crack. But the number of dogs in caravan parks with their owners is phenomenal.
Good or bad?
Bad.
Why?
We pulled up at a caravan park in Port Macquarie, battled to get, backwards and forwards 8 times to finally get it in its spot, set up the annex, life's good, out come the fold-away chairs, next minute the dogs start. And we were encircled by dogs. It's like a ring of them. This one barks and the next one barks, and the guy says, oh, shush, Fluffy. And then the next one says, oh, shush, Fido. And it's like, and I'm being respectful to dog owners, it's no problems at all, but it's really impinging on the people that don't have dogs, I've got to say.
I have a problem. Again, I like dogs. I don't have a dog at the moment, but I like dogs. But I have a problem with pubs. You know, when you bring a dog in a pub and I think, it's great, Yeah. But hypothetically, just say 12 people turn up with their dog.
That's right.
You can't go, you are the 6 of you leave, you've got to let them all in. And it'll be anarchy.
Remember the beer ad? It's got to be a seeing eye dog.
But the last thing you want to do, exactly. But the thing is, so even when you go to a cafe or something, the people got to have their dogs sitting there, and the dog's looking at your steak the whole time.
I know. It's not.
Is there a time and a place?
There's a time and a place, in my humble opinion, and I know the dog lovers that are looking at me probably going to go, nah, I don't like that Mowbray bloke for saying that. So be it.
Well, there goes our RSPCA sponsorship.
Yeah, that's out the door.
First thing. Just getting back into the park. I mean, I suppose it's a position where when you turn up to a caravan park and you've got to park that thing, there's a lot of pressure as well, isn't there? Because the whole park's watching you. Because I'll tell you a story. My partner, she was into water skiing, and they used to go up the coast. And what would happen was that she said the best arguments between husband and wife was when they turned up and they had to reverse the boat on the ramp because the wife would get out and the directing and the bloke's going, and it'd be the absolute Barney. And everyone's sitting there with beers.
Watching.
Having a laugh. It was the greatest.
Give it a mark out of 10.
So it was almost like, don't turn up late. Make sure you get there, get it done.
The Russian judge
because you don't want to be the main event.
Look, in the marine environment for years, I've watched people that are trying to anchor a yacht, and the husband's usually the guy down the back steering it, and the wife is usually up the front with the anchor, and he's doing the yelling and the screaming, and she's like cowering,
Yeah.
So it's sort of like the caravan equivalent of that is, the guy back in the van in, as you say, the wife giving directions. We pulled into one, I think it was Brunswick Heads or something, and we were there for 4 nights, and it was a very, very small, and I'm not too bad at backing, I've got to say.
Yeah.
But now I'm back at the thing, and I've gone backwards and forwards a few times, and I finally got in position, and there's 4 or 5 people standing around casually trying not to watch, of course, but at their peripheral vision, they're watching, like a hawk. And when it was all over, I just got in position, and I yelled out, I said, what do you reckon, everyone? What do you reckon out of 10? They all go, oh!
Is backing a caravan harder than a boat?
You mean backing a boat?
Yeah.
Oh, no, same sort of beast, really.
Yeah.
But caravan's a bit harder because your vision's obscured.
Yeah.
Boat, if it's low enough, you can see over it a bit. I have a reversing camera, but I haven't connected it yet.
Well, that's the play bit of this trip.
I like to live on the edge.
I know you do. What was the working bit?
Oh, well, I was. It was last night actually. It was. Because for 25 years I've been a corporate speaker, amongst other crazy stuff that I've done, and I really thoroughly enjoy that part of my life. And I'm these days more reactive rather than proactive in seeking that type of work. But about 6 months ago, I took a guy called Richard Hume under my wing, and I'm mentoring him just for love, just for fun, to try and be a speaker. And he's had some incredible experiences.
Where'd you find him?
I found him trimming hedges at the Big Four Caravan Park in Bullagoona.
Well, he sounds like a corporate speaker to me. I don't know about you.
Straight away, I'll do it. Anyone that can trim a hedge like that, you're in. You qualify. So I just struck up a conversation. I love talking to people and meeting people and finding out a little bit about their story. I guess it's a bit like you and I sitting here in reverse. Yeah. And so I struck up a conversation with Richard. He's just turned 43. And I was immediately taken by some of his achievements athletically, heaps and heaps of marathons and Ironman triathlons and double and triple Ironmans, and rode across the Atlantic Ocean with another guy. It took 72 days to do that. Last year he was in Townsville and did 30 marathons in 30 days. just a foot. And I'm going, what the hell?
Yeah.
And you're trimming hedges at Bulladoola?
Yeah.
So there is a backstory as to why he's doing that, which I won't bore you with now. So I've taken him under my wing and I'm mentoring him to see if he can take his experiences and then be able to have the opportunity to articulate that on stage in front of people in a meaningful way. And so I was able to get him a presentation to do last night at Port Macquarie Golf Club for the sponsors function for the Pro-Am tournament that's on up there today and tomorrow. And so I was supporting him there, but along the way of getting him involved with that, the organisers said, well, could I do something as well? So I was on stage last night myself for about 3/4 of an hour.
That would have been a bit of a safety net for him, you being there
Yeah,
as well?
me being there and his first opportunity. And Carolyn, my better half, she introduced him and we actually told the audience, look, this is his first go, so go easy on him, you know.
Yeah,
but he went very well. So we've still got some work to do, like everything. It's a learning process for everyone.
Well, you travel a lot, and you probably fall over people like that all the time. Is it surprising that people like that's done so many things don't get recognised?
Look, it's a whole. It's like writing a book. It's like being a corporate speaker. It's like being a salesperson, I guess. It's one thing to have the product knowledge or have the experience, but to be able to take that knowledge or that experience and then get on stage or write about it or speak about it or whatever and articulate it in a meaningful way that people can get. You know, if you were somewhere and you saw something funny and you try to write about it, but it doesn't turn out to be funny enough, that sort of thing. So you've got to be able to articulate it. And not a lot of people have that skill, and it's a different skill altogether.
In regards to, it's corporate speaking, that's a real passion for you now, isn't
Love
it?
it. I've loved it ever since day one. The first time I stood in front of a group of people and spoke was in 1994, and I'd committed myself to attempting to sail around Australia two-handed non-stop, and we eventually, myself and a mate, we sailed around Australia, taking 54 days to do that. We raised money for Hunter Life Education, and Morisset Rotary contacted me and wanted to put on a fundraiser, and they put on a progressive dinner with 86 people, 2 busloads of people that went to 3 different houses. And it was fantastic. And at the last venue, which was for the dessert, they said, would you like to speak, Tony? And I was just nervous as hell. First half of it, I can still remember it thinking, I'm nervous. I get about halfway through and I think, geez, I think they're enjoying themselves. And then I think I'm enjoying myself. And away I went. And before I left to go around the world, I had 3 key goals that I wanted to achieve in this one part of my life. 1 was to make a documentary. 2 was to write a book. And 3 was to be a corporate speaker. So because I'm sure you've read lots of books and the viewers have read lots of books about people that have achieved or survived and they go on to be a speaker, whether it be for the flavour of the month or for a longer term. So I wanted to do that. So the day that I stepped ashore in front of all those people at the end of the Around the World trip, I was going to be a corporate speaker. That was what I'd made up my mind I was going to do.
Because it's not easy too. I mean, especially when you first start out. But
a lot of competition.
But you still put a lot of preparation into each one?
No, I
Was it already in your thought process?
Oh, look,
it's
about 3 days out, I get antsy with myself.
Yeah.
It starts to build. And it doesn't matter how many times. I'm sure you have the same thing in what you do. And it starts to build. I do a lot of fact-finding. I like to, when I stand up on stage in front of a group of people, I want to know as much as I can about that group, what their mindset is, what's their job, what's their roles, are they happy with management, is there siloed activity in the organisation or whatever the heck it is it about leadership or teamwork or whatever it might be, change management? So I generally work with one style of presentation, but what I do is I change it around to suit that theme.
Because I was about to ask you, if you had 2 nights in a row, would you be able to do 2 different talks and not mention anything of the night before?
No, there's hybrid.
I mean, obviously you've got to talk about the main things.
Yeah, No, I've got that many different, like examples of leadership and decision making and commitment and whatever that, if you just give me the brief, off I go.
There's a story.
Just wind my key up, push me out on stage and book me back in after an hour or so.
There's a good story where I think it was Billy Connolly.
What a funny man.
He was doing some shows in Europe and Robin Williams turned up. Just to see him, and Robin, they had a bet, and because Billy was on 5 nights in a row, and Robin said, "I'm going to make a bet with you," and I don't know how much money it was.
Oh, right.
That for the next 5 nights, I'm going to come here the next 5 nights, and you were not to repeat one joke from those last 5 nights. And Billy said it was the hardest thing he's ever had to do, but he did it.
I always remember Billy Connolly's book that his wife wrote. I can't remember her name off the top of my head.
Pamela,
that's right.
Stevenson, was it?
Written many years ago, and I read the book, and towards the back end of it, he says that when he dies, he wants to be buried. He wants to have a headstone with tiny little writing on it. So you've got to walk up the headstone and peer down and get very close to read it. What it's going to say is, for Christ's sake, get back where you're standing on my balls. How good is he?
Oh, man.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, just with the corporate speaking, you get people that get up after and speak to you and say, you just touched something in me.
Yeah, look, I need to be humble, as humble as I can here, and I'll probably fail, but what I do, I take extremely seriously. Mm. There's a lot of fun, a lot of laughter, but when I get incredible feedback from people. I get, like, for example, it just comes to mind, I'll give you two small examples. I go to get a health scan done at Belmont, 12 months or so ago. Go in there and the guy looks at my card and he goes, "Oh, Tony Mowbray." I go, yeah, we're from Belmont.
Trevor's brother.
Yeah, Trevor's brother, you know him. So, stop it. We're going to get into trouble, you know.
Hey, we're giving Trevor his 5 minutes of fame here.
Yes. And he said, straight away, this guy goes, "I remember that you spoke at a conference, blah, 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 15 years ago." And he quoted verbatim 2 sentences of what I'd said in that presentation. And one of them was, "Never trust a man with a tidy tool shed, a box tray that lights at work, or a library card. And if he's got the whole 3, never trust him." No, that's true, but isn't it?
It is true.
Yeah.
But do you feel, I mean, especially this day and age, where life's bloody tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are struggling, I suppose, in every facet, especially mentally.
Look,
is it a case sometimes it's like you're trying to say, just get off your ass and do it, or is it, each person is different, isn't it?
Well, it's a changing world, isn't it? We know it's changing rapidly. It's dynamic. There are a lot of people that expect a free feed in life, as we know, and some of those people you can't do much for.
Yeah.
But the other example that I wanted to tell you about was many years ago. I was the guest of Macca all over on Sunday.
Yes.
I was in the studio on ABC in Ultimo, and I was fortunate. I've met some incredible people over the years, and then I get in my old beat up old ute and drive home, but I'm just a bloke from Belmont, and I'm sitting there in the studio with Macca, and now we're doing this interview. It went for a couple of hours, and callers were able to ring in, and this lady rang in, and she said to me on air, and to all the listeners could hear, that some weeks before she'd heard me do a radio interview on a different radio station, and she was an agoraphobic and really bad. And she said that as a result of that interview and listening to me speak, she was able to go to her front door, open the front door, walk down to her front gate, look up and down the street for a few minutes, and then go back inside the house. Like, what the hell? And I'm crying now, of course, and both Macca and I were crying and listening to her. She was so passionate. Like, you can't. How do you value? Like, you can't. I don't know. How do you? I don't know what.
I mean, to us, that's just a little thing.
Yeah.
To her, that's a
massive thing in her life. Massive thing in her life. Another time up the Barrier Reef when the kids were young, and we were anchored at one of those beautiful Barrier Reef islands that most people can identify with, and I was on a boat, Solo Globe Challenge. It was quite noticeable. People knew what the boat was, all the logos and stuff. Sun's going down. I'm in the cockpit with the kids. There's a guy in his dinghy, and there's a yacht moored a couple hundred metres behind us, and heading out to his dinghy, and he looks over his shoulder, and he catches sight of Solo Globe, and he does a double take, and he jams the tiller over, and he comes straight at us, and he comes up alongside, and he said, "Are you Tony?" I said, "I am." Now, this is in 2003. You go, "Are you Tony?" I go, "Yeah, I am." He said, "Mate, can I just share one thing with you?" I said, "What's that?" He said, "You're the reason." He said, "I was at a conference." He said, "I heard you speak, and I resigned, and I bought this yacht, and that's why I'm up here at the sailing of the Barrier Reef."
Wow.
I go, "That's fantastic. Do you want to come and have a beer?" He said, No, just want to share that with you." And off he went.
Wow.
Like, how do you, I don't know, put a value on that, or, what is, I just treasure that incredibly.
Yeah. I mean, you get to a point where you meet different people, and also too, do you think it's a case of sometimes when people get an opportunity to do something that's out of their comfort zone, because of a lot of things, like mortgages, families, all that sort of stuff, sometimes it's safer to be in that comfort zone than take that plunge. I mean, you more or less shot the lights out when it comes to your life, but there is a time when there's people where they just can't do that.
Yeah.
Is it a case of trying to redirect some way else or do something else? Or?
It's all relative. Sometimes people come up to me after I've spoken at a presentation or just in general life or whatever, and they'll say, I can never do what you... No, hang on a minute, no. It's all relative. It's all a challenge. The rules and principles are the same. It's just a different example. So whether you're in a little tinny down at Paul Bryan on Lake Macquarie and you have a big southerly come through and you nearly die, that's the same feelings and emotions that I had in the 98 Hobart as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a great subscriber to the philosophy and the belief, and we all know it, is that, you step outside your comfort zone, and sometimes you step outside it and then you jump back into your comfort zone again. You go, wow, that was exciting. But the longer you stay out there, that becomes normal. And then you go to the next step, and it's all relative part of your life. It doesn't have to be sailing around the world or whatever the heck it is. And then eventually that becomes normal. So broadening your horizons. The big thing for me over the years, and I'm big on my kids. I'm just big on my kids, fully committed.
Yep.
The big thing for me, the great rewarding thing, is that what I've been able to work out in my head is that by accepting and embracing my challenges and stepping outside my comfort zones over a period of time, I've been able to come back with my horizons broadened and my asset base, my intellectual asset base enhanced or something, that I've been able to help my kids step outside their comfort zones and give them a life that they might not have had otherwise.
Yeah, the teacher that wasn't at school.
In a positive, that's right, yeah.
Has there been, you're all go-getter, but has there actually been something you look back and go, I wish I did that, but the opportunity closed and you couldn't?
Door closed.
Wouldn't be too many because,
not... The one that springs to mind, which I now have no problems with, is that getting towards the third year of my electrical apprenticeship in the coal mining industry, by mutual agreement, it was terminated. And you can see why,
Well, I was going to get you to put a few PowerPoints in at my place after this, but you bugger that. Yeah.
So for quite a few years in my 20s, I was a bit disappointed in myself that I didn't bat on with that.
Yeah.
But probably getting married the first time for 11 months. But 11 months, I don't know what was wrong with me.
But in saying that too, if you'd have continued on the electrician to the mine,
whole different life.
You wouldn't have done what you've done.
Pivotal moments in your life.
But that's the fork in the road.
We all have them, the forks in the road. And sometimes people ask me, they'll ask the question, how did you get here? And my immediate response was, well, where's here? What do you think I am, sort of thing. But what in a serious sense, when I look back over my life, whenever there's been a fork in the road, not all of the time, and not all of the time consciously, so consciously or subconsciously, I've quite often followed the fork that leads to my passion, and not to wearing a tie, putting a suit on, whatever. Not all the time. And I think if you do follow your passion as often as you can, it's going to lead to some pretty good places.
Oh, the one regret I had was...
Try saying that when you're drunk.
I think I am. I was working for NBN, and I did a lot of stories with Ken Duncan, photographer, down the Central Coast. And I used to love doing his stories. A great bloke. I think I've got a picture there somewhere too. There
he is.
That's when I was about 20 kilos lighter.
Yeah.
But
I'd say more than I'd say 30 kilos lighter. Sorry, did I say that?
Okay, let's wrap this up. But after that, I said to him, "What are you doing next?" He was launching a book, and he said, "Well, actually, I'm going to India, and I'm going to photograph tigers in the wild."
And he wanted to know, you want to go?
He asked me, "Do you want to go?" And I didn't go. And then at the time, I went, as if I can go at work, I look back now and go, how many times would someone like Ken Duncan...
Would you like to go to India to photograph tigers?
Yeah, and I look back and go,
probably only going to happen once in your life.
I know, but I probably would have lost my job. But you know what I mean? Sometimes you find that sometimes when you go on that fork in the road, something else spawns.
It does. One door closes, another one opens, the old adage. I'm a great believer, if the door opens in front of you, step through it if you can, Just have a crack.
At Elk Architecture, we don't just design buildings, we shape the spaces where life happens. From concept to construction, our award-winning architects bring our vision to life with precision, passion, and purpose. Whether it's your dream home or your next big commercial project, trust Elk Architecture to build what matters most. Elk Architecture, designed for life, built for the future.
Let's get on the Sydney to Hobart. Before we get into the 98 race. That race, you've done 15 of them.
Yeah, that's a fair few. But
have you got any left in you?
I don't think so. That chapter is largely closed. I get asked that question from time to time, and I think probably my son Jordan is now 32, just rolled 32, and he and I have done a lot of sailing together.
Yeah,
I would do it if it was something to do with him. If there was a special reason with some of my mates, I'd have a crack. But in terms of just going along for the heck of it and, competing in the race, no, not that keen.
I mean, it's such a special event, and I covered it for Channel 10. I actually loved it, and I'm not a boatie, I'm not a sailor, but I loved covering it for so many reasons.
So you've got a reasonable level of intelligence then, have you?
Exactly right. But
and some money in your pocket, probably.
Well, maybe, but no, that's wrong. That's wrong. But what I used to love about it, because again, it was the end of the rugby league season. and again, there wasn't much sport around Christmas. Obviously the cricket, the tests, and stuff like that. But they always used to send me down there to do, and it was like a preview the week leading into it.
Yep.
I worked,
interview some of the skippers, that sort of stuff.
Yep. And not so, well. What I loved is not so much the super maxis. Yes, they're in it, but the stories were in the smaller boats.
Yeah,
and all the media's that they want to do the wild oats and they want all that, and I'm going, mate. There's these crew of blokes,
five guys or six guys on a little 30
who just want to conquer something. That's the story.
That's the story.
But they're going, well, that's not a sports story. I said, well, no, they're still competing. They're still competing in a race.
Generally, and that's one of my real bugbears over the years, particularly say with the Hobart race, but with other journalism as well. And I know that you still are a journalist, and you were sort of, but you were a journalist, and respectfully to many good quality journalists out there, but essentially a lot of them are just lazy. So all they want to do is tell you, but it's easy for the consumer to understand that Wild Oats was first across the line. They must be the winner of the Hobart race. Well, they're not. Yeah. It's the handicap winner, the little 30-footer or the 35-footer that's battled for 5 days. And the one that might be declared the handicap winner, that's the story. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I used to do a story every day leading into it. On Christmas Eve, they'd have the big the press conference with all the super maxis. Then I'd work Christmas Day.
Christmas lunch, that's Hobart,
Santa. I think. There you go.
There you go.
Can't tell me I don't get the big interviews.
Who's that young bloke doing that?
I get the scoops, don't I?
Was that your son?
Mate, one-on-one with Santa on Christmas Day.
Oh, you're going good. He's taking a time out for you.
But that was the day you did the
overseas. Were you saying to him, where's my bike?
Santa Claus, yeah, that won't get on YouTube. Yeah, right. But that was the day we interviewed the overseas contingent that were away from their family.
Yep.
From all
That's
over
the story.
The world. That's he'd be handing out presents and giving the Chinese boat boomerangs, and I'm like, what's this? I throw it. It goes in the water. Sorry, I was supposed to come back. But that
it's a dud.
But on the day of the actual race,
Boxing Day,
there's something special.
There is
around that Rush Cutters Bay. It is like electric.
I did my first Sydney Hobart in 1973. I was 18 years of age, and if you do your calculations really quickly, that'll tell you that I'm nearly 70. And I know I don't look it.
Of course.
I look like 80 or 90.
Yeah.
But no, you're quite right. Look, that I've never forgotten, and on the times that I've been down there and competed in the race, it is that buzz that it's a bit indescribable in some ways.
It's like
excitement.
Christmas was the day before, but for everyone there, that's their Christmas, and it's like even that. I love that. There's the Commodore gets up and talks, or they have the weather guy up there, and there's this big room, and everyone, and that's what I love about it is that everyone from the super maxis to the smaller boats, they're in that room,
that's right,
getting the same information, and exactly, and I don't know, it's just I always say to people, if you ever get a chance, and again, you wouldn't get the chance much, but if you ever in that vicinity. Go down and just experience that.
Yeah, it's really to walk along the dock with all the wet flags waving and the people and milling around. It's pretty good stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
and the nervous anticipation that start time's not far off. All that stuff.
Yeah. Staying on the Supermaxes, I remember they had a launch, and I turned up. I can't remember who it was. Might have been Comanche or something. They were launching something. Anyway, I get there, and this was weeks out. And I walked in, there was red carpet, there was caviar, there was champagne, there had a guy in the corner with a violin going, I'm looking going, well, this sailing's pretty fucking good, isn't it?
This sailing's hard work.
How good's this? And then they gave us this tour of the boat, and I was like, okay, what's the, where's the spinnaker, this button.
Yeah.
And I went, this is not sailing.
Yeah, I know. The sport has changed so much in so many ways, like there are quite a lot of boats now that have to have a generator running 24 hours a day whilst they're racing to power the boat up. And there's arguments for and against that, is that appropriate or not?
Yeah.
And I'll just sit on the fence with that one in terms of this interview. Let's just say it's probably not my idea of how to compete. It's muscle
I mean,
power,
when you can have a stack of celebrities on the back of the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose that's a part of it. I think we got some Tattersalls Cup sort of vision, or maybe just coming out of the thing. But I just find that's real sailing.
Yeah, it is. It's there you go.
Unwavering focus and commitment have been qualities on display throughout the 2024 Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race.
I mean,
one crew
obviously the Super Maxi guys have at one stage experienced that before they get to that.
Yeah.
Announced earlier today.
But that's you mentioned before. That's the real race, isn't it? Whoever
Celeste.
After success in 2022,
that's one of the oldest
time skipper and CYCA
trophies in the world.
Yeah. Sam Haynes has received the coveted Tattersall Cup.
There you go.
2022, that was like a life changer for me. And then this year, getting an overall win again, particularly as Commodore of the club, very special moment.
Pretty flash performance.
It was
for
a
those
performance
guys.
which said a lot about teamwork, focus, and dedication.
The crew are probably integral to being able to make this boat work as well as it did. The boat was a good platform for taking on these weather conditions. It's a tough beast, so it's time to fly.
We're getting you all fired up here.
Over the past 24 hours,
I was just looking at the bow of the boat out the water. I'm thinking to myself, what you got to do is you got to find the hole. When you're surfing, then you got to find the hole and put the bow in the hole to go faster.
But there's that thing too with the fact that there's so much money involved, especially at the top end.
At that level.
People think that it's this real elitist sport when there's people that just like racing.
The majority of the people, well, I won't say the majority, but there's a large proportion of, say, the Hobart fleet are battlers, they're people that are, like they're just, see, sailing's a great leveler as well. Sailing's one of those sports or activities that you can be sitting on the gunnel and you've got a brain surgeon on one side and a guy that, drives the pickup garbage truck, and everyone's having a great time together. So it's a great leveler. I used to say the only reason you went sailing was to drink beer afterwards, but I sort of there is it's like, I guess, any sport or activity. There is an element. There's a percentage of the participants that are at that elite level, that are professional, et cetera, and then, but by far the vast majority of the battlers, like myself and whatever, were just in there trying to make up the numbers and do our best.
I did a documentary on a guy called Christian Beck, who owns Law Connect. I think before that,
I don't know Christian, but I know of him.
And how I got onto him, I was just doing an interview before the Sydney to Hobart, and it was his answers that really went, wow, this guy's a real character.
Resonated.
And he actually said, I said, what made you buy this boat? And he said, look, I'm not a sportsman. I can't hit a ball like Tiger Woods. I can't hit a tennis ball like Roger Federer.
Yeah.
But I've got the money to buy a big-ass Super Maxi, make myself the captain, and I'm in the most elite ocean boat race, yacht race in the world.
And he is, and
so
he
I'm
was.
I'm an elite sportsman.
That's him.
And I went,
that's it. Fair enough. However you get there. However you get there.
And he's actually won the last couple of
he's done well.
as well.
He's done extremely well.
But it's getting back to money. I mean, how obviously you've spent a lot of money over the years. How much money do you reckon you've spent on your yacht?
On which yacht?
Well, all of them, I suppose. Could you bought a house?
Look, easy. More, block of bloody AIM units. Easy. At Merriweather Heights, you know. Look, how you pay for it is the eternal question for me over the years. That's one of the burning questions. I still don't really know the answer to that. Say, for example, with the Around the World trip, people used to ask me, you know, how much did it cost? And I say that I went on an asset reduction program and it worked magnificently, right? Because for that particular project, you're all in.
Yeah.
The one thing I would never, ever risk was our family home, but everything else was on the table.
There's nothing that your wife used to say, come on, let's reel it back a bit.
No, she had trust in me, faith in me that there was a line in the sand that I would go to, but I would never go beyond it. But for example, you know, this is a small example, but I'll give you an example of the extremes I went to. My mother was elderly before I went around the world, and I went to her on one occasion. She was living with my sister. She had limited funds, and I said, Mum, I've run out of money. It's like at this stage she's in her early 80s or late 70s. Mum, I've run out of money again. Do you have any money I can borrow to keep the beast funded, you know, the trip? Yeah. And she said, Tony, the only money I've got is $4,500 in my funeral fund. So I borrowed $3,800 of it.
Just hang on for a little bit longer,
and
Mum.
She's going, what if I die? Where you going? I said, Mum, just hang on, it'll be all right.
Well, you could have buried her at sea.
Just go with me. Yeah, I know. I mean, it'll give you a bit of an insight to what I'm talking about here, right?
Dave loves that one. Thank you.
That's a true story.
I'm here on Thursday.
Yeah, just hang on, Mum.
Your first one, 1973, was it?
Yeah.
I think, is there a picture there? I think this one, actually, this picture of you was the 74.
That's 74. Have a go at that.
Look at you there.
I had hair.
Oh, no, that's a wig. It's got to be.
That was taken at the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia in Rushcutters Bay on a boat called Sirocco.
Wow.
Not Errol Flynn's Sirocco, a different one. We didn't make it that year, but that was my second attempt or my second race.
Yep.
And when people see that photograph, my son is a spitting image of me.
Wow. Is he? So get back to the year before.
73.
How was the feelings before that? You didn't know what you were getting into?
I was 18. I was 18 and 2 or 3 months old. I was just very, very lucky to get a ride with Peter Rundle. Many Newcastle viewers would know of Peter Rundle, Rundle's Menswear.
Yes.
And Peter was, even though Peter at that stage was only in his probably mid-30s, very, very experienced ocean racer. And I learnt a lot of things from Peter Rundle. It was a little 30-footer, five of us in the crew, and I was the boy, I was the young man. And Peter just taught me so much about. I was like taken aback by the determination and the grit that he showed, and this never ever give in attitude, and like, you know, attack sort of thing when you're racing. And I've gone, wow, this is something going on here, you know.
So how old were you then?
18.
18.
Yeah.
So what about 3 or 4 years earlier? You went out in the ocean for the first time.
Yeah,
was that the bug?
I was 4. See, when I was 11, I first went down to the yacht club. When I was in Belmont, Lake Macquarie Yacht Club. When I was 14, I went on my first ocean race, and that was from Moon Island at the entrance to Swansea Channel up to Newcastle and return. And I can still, to this day, sitting here now, can still remember as we made it was a little boat called Sky, owned by a guy called Bill Hannon, who used to own Greenleaf Studios, a photographic studio. His son is Paul Hannon. And I remember going out on that boat and felt the rock of the boat on the ocean, the underlying swell, which you don't get on the lake.
Yep.
And I thought, what's that feeling? I'm thinking, wow, that feels pretty good.
But some people think the opposite, don't they?
Yeah,
when they
most
do
people
that?
do. I'm thinking, I want more of that. That's where it started.
Yeah. I mean, 15 Sydney to Hobart's all up. The 1998 one on your boat, Solo Globe Challenger, cyclonic winds, 120 kilometre an hour.
150k an hour.
150.
Yeah.
Towering waves, 6 people die in the race.
55 were rescued.
I mean, that was just a ridiculous, I suppose, the perfect storm, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. A lot of people ask me about that, and I say the only difference between the Hollywood version, I mean, a lot of people confuse me with George Clooney, of course, but the only difference is you take the Hollywood bullshit out of Perfect Storm, and that's the Sydney Hobart of that year.
But just leading into that, in regards to the ones you'd done before that, did you ever, you would have had some dicey conditions.
Oh, yeah.
over time.
Plenty of
Did you
times.
ever think that there could have been something like that one day?
Nah. I said the very first book that was published about this Hobart race was a book called Fatal Storm. And there's a chapter in there dedicated to what happened to us. And I was interviewed by Mark Rothfield for that book. And I said in there, and I stand by it today, I thought I knew where the top rung of the ladder was, but I was 50% wrong. Way higher than what I anticipated or many other people anticipated.
Yeah.
There had been bad races before. 84 was a bad year. I wasn't actually in that race that year. But 98 was just, don't ever... Every year they say, it's going to be a bad year, blah, blah, blah. 98 was the winner.
I mean, you're leaving the heads. I think we got some vision of the start of that race.
There you go. That's bobsled.
Great sight. There's the city in the background. What a
That's
sight.
Rob
Guns
Mundell
got
narrating.
it, they're away.
That's my friend, actually, Tag. One of my mates. Marchioness, yeah.
Last year, on Saturday the 26th of December, 115 yachts set off on the 54th Sydney to Hobart yacht race. Sailing on Sword of Orion was Steve Coolmar, a two-time race winner and on his 17th Hobart.
Do you remember? I mean, that leaving the Sydney Heads, obviously not knowing what was going to happen 24 hours later, obviously unpredictable. But there was a they had obviously when the weatherman came up and did the whole.
We were told we're going to get a certain wind strength, and we got far more than that. We were told we were going to get 50 knots of breeze, which is around about 90 kilometres an hour.
Yep.
But we got 80 knots of breeze plus, so up around 150 kilometres an hour and more. But it wasn't only the wind strength was the problem. This is what a lot of people, I've spoke before about journalists generally just taking the easy route sort of thing.
Yep.
There's a current that runs from the equator and it runs down towards the east coast of Australia. It kisses the coast around about Fraser Island and then parallels down the New South Wales, southern New South Wales, Victorian border, and then dissipates into Bass Strait. This current, the hotter the water is off the coast of New South Wales, the quicker that it's come from the equator and hasn't had a chance to cool, so it's running quite fast. If the water is cool off the coast of New South Wales, it's slowed right down. Well, normally the water temperature off the coast of Sydney is around 21 degrees in summer, and the current runs at either bugger all or maybe a knot or so, knot and a half. In the month of December of 98, what we didn't know was that the water temperature was, I think, 27 degrees. It was like bath water, and the current was raging at 4 knots plus, heading south. So you get this massive body of water charging south. It gets to relatively shallow Bass Strait. And then it gets like this because it's got to get up and over the landmass at the bottom. Then it gets hits with 150 kilometres an hour of wind head on, and that's why the waves were so vertical and so high.
Did it sort of eventually? Did it just get worse and worse, or did it just hit straight away?
No, what happened, the bit of vision just showed there was people pulling spinnakers up, the big multicoloured ones, because the wind started off on our side, and as the afternoon wore on, it got around behind us more. And we had a really, really, really fresh afternoon, a good following sea breeze, spinnakers up, hands and hurls type of stuff going for it, Yep. We had the bit between our teeth. We knew there was a front coming, but it was forecast to be not, 50 knots. I mean, I've been across Bass Strait plenty of times. 50 knots, it's pretty serious stuff, but it's nothing to be alarmed about.
Yeah.
As night fell and midnight came and went, the weather conditions started to deteriorate, the wind started to swing, the system's approaching now, the new system, and there's lightning and storms and stuff all around. Before sunrise, it really starts to go downhill. Sun rises, and as the morning wore on, it just incrementally got worse and worse.
At that point, in your being a sailor for so long, you're thinking,
I'm fine.
Yep, you're still
I'm good. Oh, yeah, no problems. Yeah.
So at what point did it start to
Well,
go right?
we went to, as the morning wore on, I kept, the way I liken it, the analogy is like clawing up the rungs of a ladder. Every hour or so to go to the next rung, and then it'd plateau for a while, then another hour. At midday, we had some pretty strong conditions, far exceeding what we'd been forecast, but we were still comfortable. We had a good solid boat, a good crew, well-rounded crew. We were still racing. At midday, we took the decision to lower the Spitfire storm jib, which is a smaller sail that you can have up on the boat, tiny little thing. We lowered that and proceeded under what's called bare poles, just no sail up at all. just the bare mast and the rigging. Still quite safe, but at between say 2:30, 3 in the afternoon and up until 4 o'clock, conditions really plummeted big time. The seas just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and at 3 minutes past 4 that afternoon, we got taken out by a wave, which started a process.
Wow. And with that wave, I suppose that was the next 15 hours to win was to live.
Yeah, 3 minutes past 4, this wave hit, inverted us completely upside down, surfed us and smashed us down the face of a 60-foot wave upside down for 20 seconds. So we just, if you count 20 seconds, it doesn't sound like long, but when you count it out, it's an eternity, particularly if you're upside down the yacht and Bass Strait. And then finally, when we went over, there was a massive cannon-like noise and the mast shattered underwater. We finally came up. We had some holes in the boat, in the deck, water down below. The back end of the boat was flush with the ocean. Yeah. The mast was hanging over the side in danger, just about to maybe put a hole through the hull and sink us or kill us. I had men with crushed rib cages, broken wrist, head wound, needing 18 stitches, smashed back, knocked unconscious. Keir Enderby was there, knocked unconscious, trapped by the broken mast. One guy had broken his left leg, just clean through below the left kneecap. We're in a lot of deep shit.
You're panicking at this point?
Not panicking. No, in my mind.
So a lot of people would be.
Yeah, no panic. What happened to me straight away, and remember I'm the leader of this team. Like I'm there for a reason. And I'm saying that humbly, but it's my job to tie this thing together. So in my mind, straight away, what snapped into my mind was a clear list of things that need to be done. The first thing is we've got to detach the mast, the jagged broken mast, detach it and throw it over the side, because whilst it's laying over the side and these waves are hooving around, it can pierce the hull and we're all gone, we're all dead. I could sit there and comfort you with your crushed rib cage. Meanwhile, there's a hole in the hull and we all sink and we all die. So what's the point?
Because that's the thing too. You got to get all these things done while, but at the same time too, worried about the next wave.
Oh yeah. So I remember some of the guys that were still able, we were crawling along the deck, and out my peripheral vision, I was looking at we were crawling to start to detach things. I was looking out through my peripheral vision out at the sea state, and I'm thinking, fuck, you are in trouble here. You are in trouble. And so we detached everything. The next thing was to bail the water out of the boat. The guys down below, some of the guys had started bailing. So we bailed the boat out. One of the guys, Glenn Picasso, Cyril as we call him, he'd been launched out the back of the boat when we're upside down, and he was still attached by what effectively is an umbilical cord, like a safety harness, and he'd been dragged along underwater like a fishing lure. He floated back on board. We got the injured guys down below after bailing the boat out, and then we just set off for a 15-hour fight for our life. We spent 15 hours thinking that the next wave would be the one that would finish us off.
What were the other crew? How were they?
Fantastic.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Did they make? I mean, that aside, now that would have been a bond for life.
Unbelievable. I am so lucky to be part of a team. Only one of us is deceased. Bob Snape was the elder statesman at the time. Bob's passed away about 3 years ago. The 7 of us the 7 remaining are still alive. It is an unbelievable thing to be a part of.
Did you feel like the next wave was going to be it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, plenty of times. I mean, we had incredible experiences. One wave that I've described to a number of people over the years, and this was around about 3 o'clock the next morning, and we're it's pitch black.
Because that would have been worse at night too, wouldn't it?
Oh, well, night fell and then it got worse because it was pitch black, and there was.
It's probably glad that you couldn't see it.
Yeah, well, intense cloud cover. You couldn't see, and what you could see is you could see the waves coming from behind you, and like you're talking about waves up to 100 foot high, and the top 25 foot of it breaking. So you can see a 25-foot wall of breaking water, but they weren't breaking all the way across the wave. So this section would break, and then that would stop, and then this section would tumble and break, and then this section would break. So Tony Perkins, Biggles as we call him, with the broken leg, he was sitting in the cockpit. I'm standing up steering with the wind and the waves directly behind us, and he's watching the oncoming waves. And he's saying to me, left, no, right, left, just trying to dodge the white bits, the breaking bits. Incredible. What I noticed fairly early on is that we all like to gravitate to whatever it is that we think we do well in life. And under those circumstances, nothing was different. So guys with injuries and those without, they all gravitated to what they could do best. And what I realised, what I thought was, if you can do what you're doing well, continue to do that, and you can do what you're doing well and continue to do that, then together as a group effort, that increases our chances of survival, and that turned out to be the case.
Did you think you were going to die?
Oh yeah. I mean, I had, in between fighting the really large waves, you think things. And so, for example, in my case, I thought to myself, say, for example, at that stage in 1998, Holly, my daughter, was about to turn 6, and Jordan was 4.5. So I get this realisation, drowning, huh? Right. I've been wondering a bit about how it might happen eventually. Would it be nursing home or cancer, like we all do from time to time? Jesus, I didn't think it'd be drowning. Okay, so I thought about that for a while. And then I remember reading a book, and I think a lot of the viewers perhaps have read the same book or have the same information, that they say that in the end of the drowning process, it actually becomes very pleasant, just drifting away, So am I thinking, in between all the big waves, and I'm thinking, geez, I wonder if that's right. Maybe I'll find out today. And then later on, I think to myself, I wonder what it's going to be like when the boat sinks and we're all in the water together. The 8 of us are just floundering around the water, the boat's gone. And then I think to myself, next step is, I wonder what it'd be like when the boat's gone and all my mates are gone and it's just me there.
Yeah.
I wonder what I'll think. Later on, you think to myself, I thought, this is how it happened. I thought, well, when it's just me in the water, I really, really hope that I think of my children last. And the kicker, the thing that brings me undone every time, if I think of my children last, which one? And I don't care who you are, you cannot come back from an experience like that and not be changed forever. And so it was with me.
3 of your crew were airlifted to a rescue chopper. 2 more transferred onto a warship.
Correct.
Then you had 2 others and yourself who took the boat back to port.
Yeah, we were eventually towed in by a fishing trawler.
At what point did you feel like you were safe? Like, because at what point it was like, it's eased up a bit.
There were a few of those
there's
moments.
The warship.
There were a few of those moments, but one of them particularly was when I've got the HMAS Newcastle lumbering over the horizon. There it is. I've got the ABC chopper hovering above me, and I've got an Orion search aircraft doing loops. And I thought, Jesus, if I'm not safe now, I never freaking will be.
I mean,
there was moments before that when the chopper came and took the 3 guys, Cookie, Dave, and Biggles, and airlifted them back. Yep. The conditions were starting to deteriorate, and it was a little while after that I was no longer in fear of my life. I thought, we're going to hope to get out of this.
I mean, it's just I just don't know how you'd be thinking. Have you ever thought that had even just one of your crew had passed away, that would have been?
I've got a photograph. So what happened was, this was in December 98, and on 26th of January, Australia Day, in the next January, the HMAS Newcastle very coincidentally came to Newcastle and was on display. So the Commander Steve Hamilton, invited us all in. So we all took our families in. And I've got a photograph of the 8 of us crew with Commander Hamilton on the foredeck of the Newcastle. But the photograph that's so poignant for me, that says it all for me, is there's a family photograph, because 7 of us were married with young children. Yeah. And we're all gathered there with wives and kids. And I always, whenever I look at that photograph, I think to myself, if one of us didn't come back, the knock-on effect, generation to generation, would be just incredible.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, 6 died in the race. Did you? I mean, when you were going through this, obviously the last thing you're thinking of is, geez, if we're going through this, there must be a stack of other boats doing the same. It was just totally.
It was just, you've got to do your own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a long period of time where, and it's documented that there were some dissension on some boats about what the safest course of action might be.
Yep.
That didn't happen on our boat. And there were some instances, while it was still daylight on the Sunday afternoon, that one yacht would see another yacht and they were accused of not going to try and render assistance.
Yeah.
There was a period of time that for you to try and render assistance to another yacht in our situation would have meant suicide.
Yeah.
You had to look after number one. there was a time where and people don't get this, some of them, there was a time where you had to absolutely look after number one, because to try and help someone else, you'd be crazy.
The boat Winston Churchill
Three men went.
Obviously wasn't so lucky. It sunk after being hit by a rogue wave. 9 on the boat, 3 died. Apparently, I've been reading it up.
Yep.
The wave picked up the boat and threw it sideways at a 45-degree angle into the trough of the wave in front.
Yep.
So that's waves picked up a 25-ton boat and practically hurled it sideways.
Yeah, it was a fairly old boat, but a well-found boat.
There's a video.
Got a video. It was a well-found boat. No, that's not it. Mayday, mayday, mayday.
Winston Churchill, ABC Chopper, go ahead, details of your emergency, over. ABC Chopper, we are hold. We are taking water rapidly. We cannot get the motor started to start the pumps, over. Roger, how many on board, over? Nine persons, stand by.
And I could see just from where the deck had been smashed out, the water was pouring in there, that we were in a big problem.
Stephen Stanley, John Stanley.
After that, that Mayday, the boat sunk within 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, gone. They got into 2 rafts because I read everything. Like, I was interviewed for the coronial inquest, even though no one died on our boat, but I was interviewed for that. And afterwards, I wanted to try and find out. I wanted to try and piece together in my head all the jigsaw pieces to see what happened. No one will ever know the complete mosaic, but I wanted to learn. And on Churchill, they got into 2 rafts, 6 in one. Sorry, I 5 in one,
5 in,
and 4 in another.
Yeah.
The raft with the 4 in, they were rescued.
Yeah.
The other was a circular raft with a dome-shaped pyramid-type canopy over it. They got in the raft, and what they found was that through the afternoon and evening, the raft was quite unstable, and that regularly the raft was getting turned upside down. And so they'd be in the water with what was the base of it above their head, the 2 rings, and they'd be just treading water with it. So then bravely one would swim out and right the raft, and off they'd go again. Well, eventually they got to the point where they realised that the raft was actually more stable upside down.
Yeah.
So they took a group decision. This is from my readings of the coronial findings, so I may stand corrected, but I believe this to be the case. They took a group decision to put a 100 mil long slit with a knife in what should have been the floor but is now the ceiling, because there's limited oxygen. Like a bellows, they could breathe air coming in. Sometime later, and that worked well, but sometime later another wave came and it righted the raft to the correct way, and their body weight completely split the floor out. And now they're, and then the whole thing deteriorated and got further and further, and then a wave through the night, I believe, pummeled them and rolled them down the face of the wave, and 3 of the men were spat out, and the guy there, John Stanley, was one of the ones that was left.
Just hearing that Mayday.
Oh, yeah.
That sent chills down my spine.
Yeah. John Winning. Yeah, I don't know how many times I've heard those 3 words.
Yeah.
When I've watched video of it.
You said that race stripped you like an onion.
Oh.
And cut away all the bullshit.
Gee whiz, you've done your research, haven't you?
It made you did it make you a better person?
Oh, yeah. The analogy that I use, which is an analogy that's been used by many people over the years, and I use it again, is that if you peel away the layers of an onion and peel and peel and peel and peel, eventually you get to the centre of the onion, the little nodule at the centre, and that's the soul of the onion, the way I look at it. And so what happened to me over a 15-hour period, progressively all those layers of bullshit, those veneers we build up to protect ourselves on a daily basis, were peeled away. And when I stood on that wharf in Eden, when we eventually towed in with Snapey and Keith and myself, and the people were interviewing me and whatever, the soul of Tony Mowbray was there for everyone to see if you knew what you were looking at. But sadly, I had to build the veneers, protective veneers, back up again to protect yourself from the bullshit that goes on so much, Yeah. But I was fucking raw, mate.
Yeah.
Raw. 16
yachts, 150 men in trouble all at the same time.
Yep.
Absolute mayhem. The control would have been, just hearing the maydays from everywhere and trying to try and produce a rescue for all these things that were happening. Like, no one would have ever.
No. And we were also lucky that in so many ways, we were lucky that it didn't happen. It's well acknowledged that if it had happened further into Bass Strait, because we would have been further out of reach of rescue helicopters, things like that, that the death toll would have been much higher.
Yeah.
So we're pretty lucky in that respect.
When you got home, like how long did it take to get over this?
Have I?
Well, have you got over it?
I think so. I'm an emotional person to start with, but there are certain triggers, as has been apparent in this discussion so far, that fire me up emotionally. It really affected me. I went on international and national television and said, when I was interviewed, and said, I'm going to go home and do a load of washing and mow the lawn. And the around the world trip, you can take it and shove it. I'm finished. You know, I've got 2 young kids at home. I went home and mowed the lawn, but I don't think I did the load of washing. You know, but
you did it in 2001, and we'll get to the around the world trip, which you did before. But was that like a bit of unfinished business? I mean,
2001.
2001.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
we coined the phrase "back to bash straight" after '98.
Yeah.
So essentially, what happened was prior to leaving for the around the world trip, I said to my 7 crew from the '98 race, I said, while I'm away, just think about this as an idea, boys. I planted the seed. And so when I got back after around the world trip, a couple of weeks after, we had a very private crew function with our families at Dave Cook's house in Belmont. And we went there, and by arrangement, went up to my house 2 doors up. We had a couple of cartons of beer on the floor, and the 8 of us sat around a circle. I can still remember it. And it started off with, well, what do you think? And then someone else goes, well, I don't know, what do you think? And then, I don't know, what do you think? And it went, and the question just hung and went round and round. And as a result of that get-together, what was decided was that and the question was, would we go back and compete in the Hobart again? And the only decision that was made that day was that if one went, we all went. If 3 or 4 wanted to go, then none of us would go together. And so we made the decision not long after that to compete. So in December 2001, we competed in the 2001 Sydney to Hobart. There we are. That's us turning towards the finish line. And
there would have been a bit of emotion going over the finish line after.
Oh, yeah. We crossed the finish line, and as we approached the finish line, I felt this, and I can still feel it now. I can still remember it. This almost physical weight lifting off my shoulders that I hadn't. I'd realised I was carrying it around, but not to that degree. And the guys just, you know, and then it was over. In that phase that chapter was over.
Yeah.
And you know, Snapey's towards the back. I'm steering there. Snapey's just standing under the boom, like the second one on the left. He's the only one that's not with us anymore. But all the other guys, there they are.
Was it eerie on the 24 hours into the race, like when you're sort of thinking this is around the time when?
Well, we went to the spot. Snapey's navigated us to the spot where it all came unglued at 4:03 p.m. on that preceding 3 years before. And this time it was like we cracked a beer. I don't drink at sea, and I don't support it. But at that stage, we just cracked a beer and we celebrated being alive. And on this occasion, it was like almost the mirror image of what we'd been there before. Yeah. And the camaraderie, the sense of belonging to this team of people, this group of people that are disparate backgrounds, you know, just bloody amazing. You know? I mean, anyone can ring anyone and ask us anything, ask us for any help. There. Yeah.
This isn't just a gym, it's where limits get broken. A place where community comes together, sweat turns into strength, and every drop is progress. No excuses, no egos, just results. Join Fitstop Newcastle today, a start to a better you.
I mean, after going through that, how hard would it be to want to do it? Not to do it again, but to go around the world unassisted, knowing that in the back of your mind you could get to waters similar.
It's a huge mind fuck, to put it very simply. And the timeline is that in June 1997, I committed after many years of thinking about it and pondering the question. In June 97, Lorraine and I committed myself to attempting to sail solo non-stop and unassisted around the world.
Yeah.
I go out, I get a boat, I equip it. We decide to do the 98 Hobart as a test run to see how the modifications were taking place. And at the end of that, that would give me a finite list of jobs I need to do to get ready to depart in October 99. 98 Hobart, you've just heard what happened. The boat's fucked. I'm fucked physically, emotionally, financially. I'm fucked. I love that word, fucked, and I was.
Oh, you can say it as much
Have I said
as
it
you
too many
want.
times?
Mate, you can say one more time.
Fucked. There you go. Thank you. so it's a doing word. It's a noun. It's everything, isn't it? So then I get back from Bass Strait, and I'm, as I said, anything that ends in LY, emotionally, physically, financially, I'm done, you know. But incredibly, and I walked away from the Around the World attempt, but incredibly, 11 days later, I tape recorded beside the pool, and I've still got the tape diary where I was trying to document everything that had happened that I can remember. And incredibly, I start saying to myself, rationalising it, going, oh, maybe I was a bit hasty. Maybe I could have a crack at the Around the World, whatever. Like, really? And so over the next 4 months, I agonised. I didn't share it with anyone. And I agonised about toing and froing and would I, won't I. We went to Sydney in April of 1999 for a tribute night at the CYC to pay homage to the rescuers. And I met 2 of the widows. Very emotional night. The next day, Lorraine and I were driving home up the freeway to Newcastle to Belmont, and I just pulled over the side of the road and I said, if I decided to go back, or if I said I wanted to go back, what would you say? And it turns out she knew all along what I'd been going through, and she simply said, if you want to go back, go back. So in May of 99, I recommitted to the Around the World trip. I wasn't right. I was a long way from being right. Had all these fears, like, for example, I'm out there on my own and I get in a storm like 98. On the other flip side of the equation is, well, I've experienced that type of storm. Maybe I'll be better equipped. Yeah. Human mind tussling. And so I delayed it by a year. So I left in October 2000. And I was lucky that I had no pressure. I had no sponsors or anything to worry about. It was my own decision.
But that just getting the boat ready after, I mean, it would have been a shell after 98, would it?
No mast, or new mast, rigging, sails, electrics. The list just goes on and on and on. It's when I look back on it now, when I go back over my notes and all my writings and diaries and whatever, and you get older and you're looking at it with a different set of lenses, you look at it and you think, really? We did all that shit in that time?
Yeah.
I had so many people helping me too. I mean, this is not a solo effort. This is the furthest thing that you can think of from a solo effort. It's a massive, huge team effort.
I mean, very emotional time. I think we got some shots of you leaving the Newcastle.
There you go. Yep.
Harbour.
People that know me know that when I get the bit between my teeth that I don't give in until I finish what it is I've set out to try and achieve. It's just within me. It's just something that I can't, sometimes I wish I wasn't like it, but I am. So I'll just go with the flow.
You'll come back, won't you?
This boat is a great boat, and if this boat got me back from that 98 Sydney Hobart alive, I reckon it'll get me around the world.
Okay, you ready? 1, 2, 3.
On the 15th of October 2000, Tony sailed out of Newcastle Harbour. The start of an epic voyage and an extreme undertaking most of us wouldn't even consider.
Well,
I mean,
that's Kieran to be narrating that.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I thought I recognised that voice. I mean, a lot of people would love to go out and get rid of the world, especially this day and age.
It's so romantic. Whatever romantic is, it's completely the opposite.
But not being able to see anyone for so long, to a lot of people, that's music to their ears.
Yeah, I spent the Around the World trip. I sailed out of Newcastle Harbour, and I went all the way around the world non-stop. People still don't get that. They think, where did you stop in South America? I didn't stop anywhere. So I spent 181 days continuously at sea, just me, and then I sailed back into Newcastle Harbour again. And I went 181 days without seeing another human being, and seriously, I consider that to be one of the greatest assets to my life. I fucking loved it. Not all the time, but most of the time. There's that word again.
181 days without seeing someone would be.
And you know what? When I finally saw someone, it was a bloke, and he had to be an ugly one too.
I know. I reckon you'd give it a crack.
There's certain things in life that ain't going to happen. That's one of them.
Did you think it was sort of like like you're in Castaway, that movie where you're sitting there? Did you have like a volleyball called Wilson next to you?
You know, the number of people that bring that up is pretty crazy. What I did do, I've got a pretty crazy sense of humour, as you might have gathered by now. And so, for example, a lot of people used to ask me prior, how are you going to cope with the loneliness? That was a standard question. And I'd go on with some blurbity, and I was whinging to Cookie one day about that. And he said, that's all right. He said, just tell them you've got some imaginary friends. So a day or two later, I'm down working on the boat, and this guy comes up and he's on the wharf and he's looking at me. I'm working away on my hands and knees. He said, how do you think you'll cope with the loneliness? And I go, it'll be okay, mate. I've got my imaginary friends, and out of my peripheral vision, I'm sure he took half a step back, and I thought, I want a winner here. So then I gave them names. I called them Kevin and Frank, and they became Kevy and Frankie Babe, and, it goes on and on. There's a chapter in the book called It's Time to Introduce My Imaginary Friends, Kevin and Frank,
But is that true? It's, just the way things are, sometimes just getting away from the world, because
Absolutely.
there's not many places where you can go where there's dead silence.
Yep. Look, one of the great assets to me that came out of that 6 months at sea was the ability and the time to think. Now, most of us in this daily grind, and those that are watching this podcast will, I'm sure, relate to this, is that most of us do what we think they think it's thinking, driving home from work or driving to work. All they're doing is think about the shit they haven't done that day, the shit they've got to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? That's not thinking. I had this sustained period of time in my life where I was able to really sit and think about how I might be able to guide my children to, down a more adventurous path in their life, or help them, or help other people, or how my own life might be able to unfold more productively or positively or whatever. And so be able to map things out like that. And that's a really, big thing for me.
Yeah.
Great asset.
Now, you brought some things in here.
Oh, yeah.
Can you explain?
Well, this is a logbook. So when I went around the world every day, and sometimes more than once a day, I wrote, and this is a copy of the logbook. So I wrote in this book, and it would, for example, I'd record the date, the time, the water temperature, air temperature, and any particular things that would be relevant to that entry. So day 17 was Tuesday, the 31st of October, 2000. Breeze back to the north and lightened off during the night. Fog is back. Visibility down to 500 metres. I'm sleeping a lot and taking a lot to wake up. Went dark at 18:30 hours last night, which is 6:30 p.m, and light at about 3:30 a.m. this morning. So darkness period at present is 9 hours or less. Fog closing in now. Visibility 100 metres.
You forgot the bit about your imaginary friend is starting to snore.
Oh, I did some. We had there's a website called sailsolo.com, and it's still active. I've archived it. I've never changed it since the Around the World trip finished, and it's sitting there, and anyone can access and have a look at it. But I did 98 email updates from the boat with what would now be regarded as an antiquated email system, which used to cost me 1 cent a character to send or receive an email from the boat. So there you go. There's an example.
Oh, thank you, David. Look at that.
Look at that bloke. Unbelievable. Look at the size of the wing nuts on me.
I was about to say, look at the lugs.
I know.
Jeez.
I'm renowned for my wing nuts.
Mate, if you lose another limb, you could just take one of your ear.
Amputate and put it in place. So that's the very first entry that I made. But on those updates, there's one that we did well into the trip where it's like, psst, psst, it's Kevy and Frankie Babe here. The big fella's asleep in that thing that he calls a bunk, but we call it a pit. We've been watching him, and then it goes on as if it's from them. It's just one time I got an email from a guy in America, and he said, "Dear Kevy, Frankie, Babe, and Tony, how are you all going out there today?" He thought they were real, and I thought, "Yeah, I got one."
There's we've got a few pictures that you had. There's a pair of underpants that you wore for 70 days straight.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's not them. They're fairly big underpants. Them ones. Look at them babies.
Well,
oh, yeah. How good are they? See, there are some people don't see that as being something to aspire to, but I do.
Mine actually look like that after an Indian Vindaloo.
The story with that is that in 1994, when I sailed around Australia with my mate Maury, I wore the same pair of underpants because I got a rule: if it's dry, you can wear it. Doesn't matter how wet it is or how much. And it doesn't matter how much it smells. You can wear it. Yeah. So I wore the same pair of underpants for 27 days, and Maury was absolutely disgusted with me. So the more disgusted he became, the longer I persisted. So I took them off at Nora Head, and that didn't get publicised too much, but my mates thought it was pretty funny. So when I set off around the world, I thought, I'll take my PB out to maybe like 30 days. I'll go to 30 days and see how they are. So at 30-day mark, I thought, they're going pretty good, you know.
You started turning them inside out.
Yeah, no, never turn them inside out or back to front. No, always worn the same way. You can't break the rules. There's rules to this thing.
The scary thing about this is actually the front of the underpants.
No, that's the back. Yeah. So I took them off after, and look, there was some debate whether I should put this in the book or not, but I won out in the end. These pair of underpants, which I still have, that photograph was only taken a few months ago, 70 days on the knocker. Yeah, a lot of my mates reckon I'm a legend. There are other people that think not.
Mate.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough room to put a few more pairs on that boat.
I took them off and I put them on my head, took photographs, took selfies of myself, you know, made up a sign today to put them on the day I took them off.
Also, there's another one. You got some bread.
Oh, Bilo. That's Bilo light
fruitcake.
So now, Bilo, which were owned by Coles back then. Look at my finger bleeding. See the middle finger there? Got blood on it.
Yeah.
I've never noticed that before. That's Cape Horn in the background. That was on the 50th day of the trip. And that's the first land I had seen for 50 days. I only saw land for a total of 3 days out of 181, by the way. So Bilo light fruitcake, I just loved it. And they'd sponsored me, so I joke about it, but it's true. I took 45 Bilo light fruitcakes and I ate them all in the first 2 months.
So would it have been a disaster if you actually had the full strength fruitcake?
I don't know, but I ate that much of it that I made myself sick on it quite a few times and had to go off it for a day or two. Then I'd get back on it.
Wouldn't it go mouldy?
No. You can still eat it mouldy. What's the problem, mate?
Jesus.
Get a life.
You bloody sailors.
Jeez.
Also, there's another picture of you in a cape.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was crossing the equator in the Atlantic, and you can see I put some balloons out. I blew them up. I don't know how the hell I had balloons on board, but I did. But before I left to go around the world, I contacted Super Hubert. Many Newcastle viewers would know Super Hubert, Hugh Nossiter.
Empty.
That's it, empty. So I contacted Hugh, and Hugh's actually a sailor. And I said, mate, I've got to take something of Super Hubert's around the world with him. What do you think? Now, that's his Newcastle Knights rugby league cape that he used to wear at the Knights games. And so I took that in a Coles shopping bag and I put it on at the equator. And what I did, I stood with the head just poking up above that white canvas spray dodger without people realising. And then I said, and then I got up and I was ashamed of my cape. Like, who takes a Superman cape around the world with them?
The worst thing about it, you were actually wearing the underpants.
Oh, was I? No, I changed the undies at that stage.
We've got another one.
And when I came back, I gave Huey back his cape.
There's a 25-year-old can of Milo.
Oh, yeah.
What's that one? What's that about?
Well, we took 17 milk crates of tinned food, or I took 17 milk crates of tinned food, and prior to leaving, I had a team of helpers that lined all the tins up on a painter's planks in the carport. They stripped the label off every can. They wrote on the top and the bottom of each can what its contents was. The standard joke was I'm going to write beetroot on every one, which I would do. So there you see.
I don't mind beetroot.
Yeah, but in moderation. And so they wrote, and this is a can of Milo. This photograph was only taken a matter of 3 or 4 months ago. This is an original tin that went around the world, and I've still got it at home in a milk crate along with some other things. And that's how it's ended up after 25 years.
So
around the world.
You got a can there. What's that?
Oh, this is actually a bit of a dummy can, but this was actually a can of seafood mix, and I took 12 of those and I bought 11 of them back. They're shit. Shit. Don't even touch it.
Even the sea life didn't want to.
Oh, you open it up and you got those little octopus legs and stuff. What the hell?
The box.
Well, we because you're going to be in a long-term moist environment that at times could be, just absolutely wet.
There's a lot of women don't like the word moist too, by the way.
There's that word again. Fuck it. Sorry. Sorry, girls. He's distracting me. So what we did, we took a whole lot of items, a whole range of items, and we broke them down into smaller parcels, smaller packages, and we wrapped them up in heavy-duty builder's visqueen plastic, which you put under a concrete slab, and then we duct taped each parcel, and we wrote on the two sides of each parcel, like, for example, this is 2 large boxes of matches. The long matches like barbecues with? Yeah. This was wrapped up in the year 2000, early 2000. So for 25 years have been wrapped up. They've been around the world on the boat, and I've kept them. They've never been open, and they never will be so long as I've got any say in it. And I do have some other things like torches and batteries. And so that's to protect it from that moist environment.
Okay. Crap paper.
Toilet paper. Very good question. I
thought you'd just forgotten your mate
No.
diaper.
Well, I quite often talk about the logistical challenge, like how do you get all those nuts and bolts and bits and pieces on board that boat to sustain you for up to 9 months, because I built a 3-month safety buffer. So 9 months of food, spares, sales, because no one can come and help you in any way, shape or form. It's such an onerous task. At the time that I committed to it, only 3 Aussies had ever achieved it, and I'm very luckily the 6th Australian to have ever done it. The crazy analogy of more people have been into outer space than have done it, So the toilet paper, I laugh about it, but it's true. I stood in the aisle at Bilo at Mount Hutton, which is where I did most of my provisioning from, because they were my food sponsor, and because everything else I'd quantified, how much peanut butter, how many matches, etc. Toilet paper, how much toilet paper do you take?
Oh.
Right? So I stood there. This is how it went. I stood there and I looked at the toilet paper and I thought, right, I normally go once a day. And I multiplied it out by 9 months, and you cannot believe the answer of how many rolls of toilet paper you need. But then the question is, what if you imagine if you took that roll of those big box of toilet paper back to the boat, you shove it all in a locker, and that locker leaks the first night out?
Yes. That's the first time I thought about it. It gets wet. Yeah.
So what we did was we broke it down into smaller, more manageable 6 packs, like 6 rolls.
Yep.
We wrapped it up just like this, and then we secreted all those rolls of toilet paper around the boat in various lockers to minimise the risk. I'm a great believer that the rules and the principles are the same. It's just a different example. In every key decision that you make in your life, or that any of the listeners might be making, relative to their children or their work or their business, whatever, is the risk element. What happens if this goes pear-shaped? What will be my position? So what I did was I worked to minimise the risk as much as I can, but don't get risk-centric. Once you've minimised it, go do it.
How many rolls did you take up the coast?
Can't remember how many I took, but I came back with some. I didn't run out. They didn't get moist or damp or wet.
Well, they might have got a bit wet because was it 5 months into the trip? It was at southwest of Perth.
Yeah.
At 1 a.m. You turn your boat upside down.
Put upside down, yeah. Yeah, we had 5
that
months.
That scary.
Look, I had some pretty strong weather in the first 5 months, but I was waiting for a big one to come along, and so I was 1,600 nautical miles southwest of Cape Leeuwin, deep in the Indian Southern Ocean, and a cyclone had formed and whizzed around between Madagascar and the east coast of Africa, then moved south out of the tropics, became a deep low, and then progressed. And it was a long way behind me. It was 1,800 miles. It just moved across and hunted me down. Eventually it got me. I went 70-odd hours without sleep, and at 1 a.m. in the morning we put her upside down again.
Jesus.
And, this time the rig was still in the boat when I came up the right way.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to the bottom again.
And also, your top end of Bass Strait, you're 2 days from getting home, and you hit with another storm that was similar to 98?
Yeah.
God.
That night, I was just at the top end of Bass Strait, almost identically to where the 98 Hobart fiasco took place. Yep. A front came through at 11, and now I'm going to finish on the Saturday, and this is like on the Wednesday, and a front came through at 11 a.m. that morning. It was forecast, but at 4 p.m. that afternoon, it doubled down itself and just burst through the barriers, and all of a sudden, I've got these massive seas, and in the book I've called that chapter A Night of Lunacy.
Yeah,
because it was lunatic stuff, and I say in that chapter that anyone that's been to sea and says they've not been scared is either a liar or they've never been there.
Was that scarier than the 98?
Oh, yeah, shit, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're by yourself.
Yeah. But I'm a great believer in breaking that big challenge down to a series of smaller challenges. And one of the challenges is the emotional challenge, or the and so emotionally that was so hard for me because I'm only a couple of days from the finish.
Yeah.
I've been here for 6 friggin' months and you just won't let me get to the finish line. So that was really difficult that night. What happened that night, I found out later, I pieced it all together, is that 3 more men died that night in that same storm.
A fishing boat?
Yeah, a fishing boat called the Margaret J that had left Burnie.
Yeah.
And it took me a few months to find that out. I was superficially aware that it happened, but I wasn't aware that it happened on the same night. And that shocked me to my core because another 3 men have gone just not so far from where I was. So I got out of it again.
Well, you're sailing back 181 days later. You can tell this by the video, just the emotion that's going through you.
Accolades you can get.
We've done the job.
There you go, look at that, 45 years of age.
Unbelievable. Tomorrow I'm going to see my children and my wife and all my friends and supporters and people and human beings and land. Oh, yeah.
No, you didn't go mad.
No, I think I'm perfectly safe.
Over 25,000 people gather on the foreshore
Kevin and Frankie
to welcome Solar Globe challenger and Tony home. The 6th and fastest Australian to do so. Over $80,000 raised to this point by Tony and the community on behalf of this project.
Good mate of mine, Hugh Brady, and I, we talk about paybacks. And when you're out here, good stuff, you're really going to take it when you get it and enjoy it, because there will be a payback. And usually the more that you get to enjoy yourself, the bigger the payback is.
It's a pity I'm not just good around home. Like mowing the lawn and doing the weeding and all that sort of stuff.
Here it comes.
Never trust a man that's got a tidy tool shed, a box trailer with lights at work, or a library card. If you've got the whole three, never trust them.
Okay, so there is Australia. I left from there, went down, the bottom.
You don't need to do that because you've actually got a prop that can do that, haven't you?
I have. People quite often ask me, where I actually went. And this cost me a fortune, this thing. I navigate with it all the time. It's better than a Shell Road map.
I can't believe the National Geographic shop's still going.
Yeah, I know. So, is that in vision there? Yeah. So I went, left Newcastle, went down underneath New Zealand. I got a couple of good Kiwi jokes. What's the 4 hardest years of a Kiwi's life?
I know.
5th class. What's long and hard and fucks Kiwis from primary school? So terrible, isn't it? Sorry, Kiwis. I'm not really. Underneath New Zealand, across the Southern Ocean to the tip of South America, Chile and Argentina. That's the Holy Grail, Cape Horn.
Yeah. Yep.
Around the Horn, up around a series of islands in the South Atlantic, across the equator, back down under St Tristan da Cunha, under South Africa, Indian Ocean, Australia, Tasmania, and back home to Newcastle. And I always say it doesn't take long if you say it really quick.
Well, we've certainly alienated women and New Zealanders today.
Just about everyone, which is it's my favourite pastime.
Tired of missing out on the best properties? Stop searching, start winning. At Optimum Buyers Agency, we work for you, not the seller. We negotiate harder, we move faster, we find the homes others don't. Off-market deals, smart strategy, real results. Whether it's your first home or your forever home, we make it happen. Optimum Buyers Agency, your edge in a competitive market. I want to get on to Bob Snape. I know you mentioned him before.
Yep.
There he is there.
Yep, that's him, Robert Brown Snape.
He was a real tutor. And wasn't he your maths tutor?
My mum...
And he got you into sailing?
Yeah, my mum...
Obviously you were shit house at maths.
Yeah, I was actually all right, but I just didn't apply myself, like a lot of things in life. So Bob had... one or two very young children, babies, and Mum used to babysit them. And Bob was a very accomplished sailor in those days, but also accomplished teacher, a maths master. So I was dragging my feet with my maths at school. So when I was 11, Mum sent me off to Snapey for some after-hours school tuition. And I remember he was renting a house at Belmont North and he was building a place at Valentine. And I'm sitting at the dining table and I can still remember it today. And in the corner of the room, there's this long skinny thing. And I go, "What's that, Mr. Snape?" And he says, "That's a spinnaker pile off my yacht that I have to repair." And I'm 11 and I go, "Oh, you've got a yacht, have you?" and we're all coal miners.
Yeah.
There's no way in the world that we would ever have thought of going to the yacht club.
Mm-hmm.
But the very next Sunday at his invitation, I rode my push bike down to the yacht club, and I can still remember propping against the wall of the yacht club, walk around the side, look at his little 26-foot yacht, thinking, it's not as big as what I thought it was going to be. But that started it.
And the amazing thing about it, at that point, years down the track, you're in Sydney to Hobart's with him. Like
the first chapter of the book is called "What's That, Mr. Snape?" He became my surrogate father, my mentor, my drinking partner, my counsellor, you name it. He had 6 kids spread across 3 wives. His youngest son, Andrew, was born in December of 1984, and I'm his godfather.
Wow.
How good's that?
You miss him?
I do. Great bloke. So many people's lives were influenced positively by Snapey, and I'm one of them.
Yeah. We go a little bit earlier, I think. Although you had
look at the wing nuts there.
Looks like you had you had some form in the Belmont Baths there. Didn't
World
you?
champion wing nuts. Yes, I was 4 years of age. I only found this recently. That's Belmont Bars, which are no longer there. They're now just a wire enclosure with some buoys. It's a canoe, and my mum very prophetically had inscribed on the back of that photograph that I was 4 years of age. It's in 1959, and that it's something to the words of the effect that I spent as much time as I could there. And, that the rest is history, they say,
I mean, Belmont, just that area, that whole lake, it's a great backyard to do all your...
Huge breeding ground.
To do your training.
And, it's just something else, isn't it?
I mean, you look at the, the state, Ian Jensen, Outeridge.
Chris Nicholson.
Yeah. Just... Like it was like a conveyor belt of great sailors.
The yacht clubs produced 2 Sydney to Hobart winners in 1961. And I think it was 1978 or 4. I'll stand corrected on that, Piccolo.
Yeah.
The 70s. So, to get 2 yachts to win the Sydney Hobart out of our yacht club's pretty flash.
I used to do a lot on Tom Slingsby too. He was down, in the Central Coast area.
Yep.
He learned on the laser boats. And, and it was almost like when you're on a laser, you have to know exactly where everything is.
Your destiny's in your palm of your hand.
Yeah, and he won gold medal after gold medal.
I organised many years ago. I organised a 24-hour laser race around the front of the Belmont 16-footers. This is a side story, and we were raising money for telethon, NBN telethon, but we had to put an age limit on it because it was going to run at night. I think we put an age limit at 16 or something like that, and we had a couple of people come to us and say, can my son do it? No, 16's the limit. And Tom Slingsby's mum came and said, and I had no idea, and we said, no. It was like 15 or something.
Yeah.
God knows, look what we did, But you had to have a rule.
And they've gone on to bigger and better things, even the round, that
America's Cup.
Big yacht race that goes from port to port. That
fully professional.
Yeah.
And such a good sailor.
So getting back to Christian Beck, I said he was trying to win this Sydney to Hobart.
Yep.
And he said, I'm going to do it this year. I said, why is that? He goes, because I've given Slingsby and Jensen a shitload of money.
That's it.
And I'm just getting the best sailors to do this.
The criteria is, let's win this fucker.
But I still don't think he did it that year, but they ended up doing it. Your dad, he was a coal miner.
There he is, yep. Yeah, Dad died in 1982. He was 1 day shy of his 76th birthday. I was nearly 50 when he was nearly 50 when I was born. So
that's the same. You know what? My dad was 49 when I was born.
There you go. Yeah. Dad wasn't quite. He was 49 and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm so lucky that once I got through that teenage bit, I'm so lucky that I realised that he wasn't going to be there forever and that I was able to spend quality time with him.
Yeah.
I'm just so lucky. And like many of us today, I just wish I could have 24 hours with him now.
Do you feel like me? Like I've always thought with my dad, because my dad died when he was 76.
Same as my dad.
But because we were born so late, we only had this small pocket of time.
Small window.
Where everyone else, they probably had another 20, 30 years.
Oh.
It feels like I've cheated.
Well, Carolyn's 63. Her mum's 82. And I keep saying to her, and in good health, I go, I don't think you fully understand how lucky you are.
Yeah.
To be 63 years of age and still have your mum here, and your dad.
Yeah. Well, my mum's 88. She's still living the life out at Swansea.
Still keeping an eye on you, I'm sure.
Getting some new hearing aids this
Still
week.
ringing you, telling you where you're going wrong on these podcasts.
when these new hearing aids go in, she's going to have to listen to me. The family's important to you, isn't it? You've spoken about it a lot. Is an early shot.
Yeah, look at the size of Jordan. Look at the melon on him. They're as big as mine. That was when I went around Australia in '94. And it's Lorraine, Holly and Jordan. Jordan is now 32. Holly's 33, coming up 34. And I am 100% boots and all committed to my children, my family. I say that it's a massive chasm to whatever is after that. And Holly says to Jordan on a number of occasions, Jordan, when it all goes to shit, when everyone else has deserted us and there's just us, we're going to turn around and Dad's going to be standing there. And she's right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You went from ocean racing to ocean adventuring.
Yeah.
Did that give you a different outlet? You just wanted to do something different?
Yeah, look, I've got an analogy, and I think other people have as well, is that life is like the chapters of a book. Some are longer than others, some are more interesting than others. Some you don't want it to end, others you want to get the fuck over with them,
Yeah.
So with me, I started racing when I was 11 in 1966. And then in 1993, that chapter actually, without me realising it, closed. The boat that I was the sailing master on was being sold and by the owner. And I knew that, and I was starting to get a bit tired of corralling 12 or 14 guys, getting them out the bar, onto the boat, all that sort of stuff. All good mates. So I came up with the idea of sailing non-stop around Australia. So that started the adventurous phase of my sailing. So we did that 54 days at sea, as I mentioned earlier. Myself and one mate, and my mate Maury, who sadly passed away last year. And that really whetted my appetite for more adventurous sailing. So that's what took place then.
You lead Antarctica exhibitions. There's some great pics of you going through the ice.
Yeah.
There's Cape Horn.
That's at Cape Horn.
Geez, that looks fun, Cape Horn, doesn't it?
Well, that's what happened was after I went to Antarctica for my first trip in 2003. I went down to Sir Douglas Mawson's hut, called Mawson's Hut, due south of Tasmania. I took the Around the World boat, solo globe down there with 4 other people. Came back, knew that I was addicted, because I've got an addictive personality, as may have been apparent by now. And so I bought a bigger boat. I bought a 60-footer, which is this boat here. I called it Commitment, and I refurbed it. It owed me $450,000 back in 2005, and I put a year and a half of my life into it. We purposely sailed it back over to Cape Horn, and that's just surrounding Cape Horn, and I based myself over there doing trips to the Antarctic Peninsula and Patagonia and all around Cape Horn up until about 7 or 8 years ago.
You've got a fascination with chili, haven't you?
I love chili. Not the one you eat, but I like the people of Chile and I like the country.
What do you love about there? Just the people?
It's almost like the last frontier, For sailing down the bottom of Patagonia, it's just brilliant. The glaciers and the fjords are just stunning. Stunning.
I mean, I think we got another shot of Cape Horn.
That's Cape Horn. Cape Horn's actually an island. A lot of people don't realise that. They think it's a peninsula or a headland, but it's actually an island in a cluster of islands.
Is it a real pinnacle to?
Oh, huge.
To go, yeah.
It's the thing. It's for me, it's the holy grail. As a kid, I used to read books about, the Morticiers and Sir Francis Chichester and those sort of people. I used to think, what the hell's it really like? And so when I committed the Around the World trip, that was one of my goals, was to get to the Horn and round the Horn and see what it was actually like.
Getting to see all these different places and explore. Do you have a new sort of fondness for explorers like, Christopher Columbus, who went around the world, didn't know where he was going, didn't know what to expect.
Sometimes when you're sailing out there and you have the electronics break down or something, and I go, well, Captain James Cook never had sat-nav. He didn't have a radio. What are you fucking worried about? It's a bit hard to console yourself, but it goes part way to helping.
There's some beautiful shots where you're in the ice. Look at that.
Yeah, that's in Patagonia.
Oh, jeez.
So she was a 60-footer. We used to take 6 guests and myself and one other person to run it. And I talked earlier on about broadening your horizons and being able to possibly expand your children's horizons. So Jordan, he left school at year 11 and got his offshore yacht masters just before he was 18, and then worked on super yachts in the Mediterranean and the Caribbean. Then when he was 20, he started skipping. 20 years of age, he started skipping Commitment, taking people to all these areas into Cape Horn. And when he was 21 and a half, he took that boat with 7 other adults to Antarctica without me.
Wow.
In charge of it.
Wow.
Not because I was pushing him, because he wanted to and he was capable.
Yeah.
And I, just fantastic. And so we used to take paying customers to try and I was there for a few reasons. One was to give myself some adventures. This is not in priority, but give myself some adventures, give my son and my family. Like Holly turned 15 in Antarctica, my daughter. He went to Antarctica when he was 12 for the first time. Yeah. And to give other people an opportunity to have the experience and also get them to help pay for it.
Yeah. So. There's another one, I think it's got a blue. Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, people, the light refracted in the icebergs is phenomenal, and that blue colour, you look at it as you see rainbows and things like that, and you think, how the hell can nature do this? Like the blues are just incredible. People just think they're all white, but that's the opposite.
Yeah. Did you jump in, have a bit of a swim?
Nah. A lot of people want to swim in Antarctic waters. I think, what the fuck, you idiot?
I think you do like something like Billy Connolly. He used to do the nutty run and
yeah. No. The water temperature in Antarctica usually in summer is around about 0 or half a degree Celsius.
Yeah.
In Patagonia, it's 6 degrees C.
Now, we're going into this. You sold the Solo Globe Challenger.
Yeah.
Selling the boat would have been like selling one of your child or selling one of your children.
I didn't want to sell it.
Well, why did you?
Well, what happened was I bought Commitment in mid 05 with the express purpose of refurbishing it and getting over to South America and doing that. I own 2 boats, and they say there are different definitions to insanity. One is owning 2 yachts at the same time, and I've done that twice in my life, so I'm really out there. But what I wanted to try and do is to lease Solo Globe out to a responsible person and use the lease fees to help pay the costs on the other boat, but that didn't work out. In the end, in October or November of 2006, as I was heading across to South America, a guy from Sydney bobbed up. Peter Barker was his name, and he said, I'm interested in your boat. And I said, oh, yeah, it's for sale if you want to. And so one thing led to another, and fairly quickly he bought the boat. And his criteria really made me happy because he wanted to do long-distance solo sailing, not around the world, like as in non-stop or anything. So he took stewardship of the boat, and I was very glad for him to do that.
But that would have been a sad day because after everything you've been through, the 98.
It's like your kid brother. Yeah. That boat, up until that point in time, it affected so many people's lives, including me and my family and my mates and their wives and their kids. It was really like selling your kid brother, but the reality of it was continue the adventure. Something had to happen.
But then you got the opportunity to buy it back.
Things happen, don't they?
How did that happen?
Well, Peter, he was recently, he was a widower, and he was early 50s, and he sailed the boat up the coast of Australia, through the reef, across the top, across to South Africa, doing great adventurous stuff, stopping along the way, South Atlantic, Caribbean, Florida, meets an American woman in Florida, gets married, named Cindy apparently. I didn't meet her at that point. They sailed to the UK briefly, then into the Mediterranean. I'm keeping an eye out on my boat because I love this boat. And so they spent 4 years in Turkey teaching English, 3 years in Italy, in Sicily. And then one day, completely out of the blue, I can't remember exactly when, maybe 2017 or 18, something like that, I get a phone call with this lady, this Cindy, American. She said, Tony, you don't know me, but my husband was Peter Barker, and he told me that if ever anything goes wrong relevant to the boat, I need to ring you because he knows you love this boat and you'll help. I go, yeah, of course, what's up? She said, well, the boat's in Italy, it's out of the water, it's on the hard. He had to come back to Brisbane for a routine hernia operation, got complications and died 3 days ago. And she's had to fly back, in a hurry, as you might imagine. So I go, Jesus Christ, okay, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to go to Italy? I'll go there at my expense now. She said, no, the boat's safe, but I need your help. I go, okay. They hadn't even had the funeral. So I go, look, go off and have the funeral and ring me. So she rang. We had a 1 hour and 1 minute conversation. I don't know why the hell I remember that. And we laughed and we cried in that conversation. I flew to Brisbane a couple of days later. I spent the day with her sitting on the Brisbane River, laughing and crying yet again, talking about the impact that this boat had had on people's lives, hers included, because she'd come from a very sheltered life, and Peter, through the boat, had opened her up to life. And the upshot of it was, I said, well, look, she said, I can't keep the boat. I've got to sell it. And I said, okay, well, I'll help you with that. I'll facilitate that. She said, there's a problem. I said, what's that? She said, Peter wants you to buy the boat back. He always said it. Fuck. So I go home and I sit down with Carolyn and I go, Carolyn, this is what's happened, what do you think? And she sat there and she listened to all my bullshit, and she said, okay, I've got two things to say. And I say, what's that? She said, one, you'd never give yourself if a little fat Greek bloke got it and wrecked it.
Yep.
I said, you're right. And she said, and some things are meant to happen. So I bought the boat back sight unseen, just off some photographs. It was in Italy. I'm in Belmont. So I met Cindy later on over in Italy, handed the boat over.
Did they change the name of the boat?
No, still called the same. Oh, no, called it a bow tie lady. Yeah, he renamed it Bow Tie Lady.
How'd that go down well with you?
Oh, well, I changed it back. That's the one thing that is like, Pete, what were you thinking, He had a thing about bow ties as his signature. Yeah. Like mine's Hawaiian shirts in summer, his is bow ties. So, so Pete, I didn't know what I was going to do. Like a lot of my mates have cruised the Med and stuff, and I didn't know if it was for me. So we went over there and we had an enjoyable 18 months or so, but eventually I came to the realisation that the Med wasn't for me. So I sailed the boat back home from Italy. So I sailed out of the Med through the Straits of Gibraltar to the Canary Islands, across the Atlantic, through the Panama Canal, Tahiti, Fiji, Tonga, Brisbane home.
Just staying before the next twist, when you sold the boat, it's important, well, not important, but I mean, in regards to, would have made you feel good that it had another life. It's almost like, if you're going to adopt a kid out, as long as it's got a good family, it's going to...
Very much
It
so.
had another chapter.
Oh, yeah.
And that's so important to the actual boat.
To hear Cindy talk to me about how the boat and Peter opened her up, she'd led this, she was in her 50s, and she'd led a pretty ordinary life up until then. And all of a sudden, Peter's there, and it's like, wow,
Yeah.
So the boat was a doorway to another life for her, and as it has been for many people. So I was really, and when she said to me, oh, look, Peter always said that he wanted you to have the boat back, and I didn't pay top dollar for it.
Yeah.
I didn't steal it from her.
Yeah.
She made me an offer of a price. I said, no, you have more. It speaks for itself, I think.
So then you sold it again to someone in Hobart. So it's finally come back to you.
Yeah.
And you sell it again. She's probably going, you're a prick.
No, Cindy's okay. Cindy's okay. No, what happened, I bought it back and I was doing a massive refurb on our house in Belmont. And I'm a doer. So I'm doing it as an owner-builder. I've never got all the money in one go. I've got to, so I spent 5 years renovating the house, but 2.5 years actually working on it. The other 2.5 was trying to work out how to pay for it, And so the boat sat on a mooring at Nord's Wharf for a couple of years, and I used it and looked after it and everything.
Yeah.
But then, life changes. It's chapters of a book.
Yeah.
And there wasn't any one particular turning moment, but eventually I just got to the point I realised that, I'd spent 38 years continuously owning a yacht, and it does take its toll.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to use the word burnout or whatever, but it does push you to, boats can give you some of the greatest moments in your fucking life, but they can give you the depths of despair.
Yeah.
And a lot of people come to me with horror stories, about boats. And the way I describe them, this is going to be fairly coarse, but do you remember that movie Deliverance with Burt Reynolds?
Yes, I do.
Right? Remember the guy that put him over the log and he said, I'm going to make you squeal like a pig? Yeah. Well, that's what boats do to you. Sorry, viewers. That's a bit too graphic.
No, it's brilliant. But what's the boat doing now?
I believe it's in Hobart, just last Sydney Hobart. Some of my mates were down there doing the race and coming back.
Yeah.
I took some photographs of the boat in the marina down there in Hobart.
Yeah.
Michael's the guy's name that bought it from me, and I don't believe he's doing anything except just pride of ownership.
Yeah.
I believe.
Wow.
And I'm very happy that he's bought it. It's not something that you can control, but at least you can have some input initially in the decision making. To what happens afterwards is up to them. They've paid the money, but I believe he's doing a pretty good job. So she looks pretty good in the photographs. So you never know; there could be a hat trick.
I'm sure there's some toilet paper stocked down there somewhere that you...
Look, what's going to happen is I could go home tonight, there could be an email there or a phone call when I leave this interview that says, guess what, Tony, there's an opportunity.
It's up again.
And I'll go, I'll fly like that little butterfly, you know what I mean? So
would you buy it back again?
Oh, yeah, I would if
it...
You never know.
That means you need another chapter for the book.
Never say never.
Which we're going to talk about. Never, ever give in.
Yeah.
It's just, I suppose, you've just explained pretty much why it's named that. Was this a closure as well to write a book? Because it's not bloody easy to write a book.
No.
Is it?
Well, the working title for the book for many years was How I Avoided a Grown-Up's Job. That's what I was going to call it. And I reckon I would have sold heaps of copies if I'd have called it that. But then so's called common sense prevailed towards the end. But the name actually, it popped out of the pages as I finished the manuscript. I remember in a number of cases I quote about never ever giving in, and I didn't realise how much I'd focused on that, like subconsciously. And so in the end that became the name for the book. And like people ask me, on the Around the World trip, did you ever think about going into shore or whatever when things got tough? Not in a million fucking years. Just you got to drag me off the water to get me out of there sort of thing is my mental, the way I look at things. So yeah, writing a book is a whole new adventure.
It is.
And for those that are watching, they'll know that, there are a lot of people who have thought about writing a book. And I started writing in 2001 after the Around the World trip. And I had a number of resource materials that I'd kept over the years with tape diaries and things. But collating all those, and as I said at the outset, we're talking about public speaking. Being able to articulate the experience in a meaningful way is another skill altogether. So having taken all these experiences that we've spoken about now and writing about them in a way that a reader finds interesting is a whole different skill set. And so I've put a lot of effort into that. It's 380 pages. I self-published because I didn't want to sign away rights and editing rights and all that. I've sold my soul over the years. Like I'm not going to sell it again, So,
I hope you sell it. I'm sure you'll sell a stack of them.
There we have, yeah.
I mean, there's not many things you haven't done now. I mean, what's next for you?
Look, we bought a caravan 6 months ago, as you mentioned, and we've just come off the back end of a 4-week sojourn with that, and we've learned a lot about caravaning. We've realised that a trip around Australia or a 6-month trip is not on our list of things to do. We're happy to spend the occasional time in it. Look, I've got prostate cancer. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer like many men 18 months ago. It's not severe. It's at the lower end of the spectrum, but I'm very cognizant of being proactive about that. So I'm exercising, doing a lot of walking. This Sunday I'm doing the 35-kilometre longest bloody walk in Newcastle, which I did last year. I go to the gym 3 or 4 mornings a week just doing light exercise. Try to eat healthy. My weight has been my biggest problem all of my life. Got an addictive personality, eat too much of the wrong stuff. So currently I'm on another attempt to curb the yo-yo eating. I give up things. I love testing myself. Like I gave up alcohol 9 years ago. I'll never drink again. I like doing different stuff and see if I can do it,
Yeah.
So like the other day I was talking to a guy on the phone, an old mate of mine, and he's currently in Victoria with a boat that he's 63-footer. He's been outfitting. I was talking to Rog, and Roger's getting ready to head over to Antarctica and Patagonia. I go, Rog, if you want a bit of a hand, mate, just let me know. I'm there, and I'll pay my own way, He goes, oh, okay. So you just never know.
Just finally, it was a picture of a ute that you've had. I think you've had it for, 25 years?
Yeah, she's a beauty. Nah, she's a 2005 model. 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, no, look at her. She's worth at least $1,000. So look at the black rope on the back, the whole thing. One day I went over a big speed up and the whole thing fell out. I had to go back 20k and find it on the side of the road.
Well, I was actually going to ask you, I was going to get a lend of it, so I've got a lounge I've got to move in tomorrow.
Way you go. Look at her.
But I bet you feel $1 million in that.
I do. You've got to get a tetanus shot before you get into the drive it. There's that much shit inside of it. Honestly, that car that's in the other shot towing the caravan, that is like by a million miles the best car I've ever had. I am just material possessions. I mean, we have a beautiful home that I've worked very hard with beautiful views of the lake and the ocean. I can look out over Moon Island where I very first time went on the open ocean from our home.
Yeah.
But when it comes to motor vehicles and stuff, that's not my bag. not what I'm into.
Tony Mowbray, this has been an absolute pleasure to be here and have a chat with you, your life. And actually, it's the first time we've actually met in person.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
So many interviews, so many experiences.
I thought you were the actor. I thought, I've made it internationally. That actor guy's ringing me.
Yeah. Well, I haven't got the E on the end of my name. It's a difference.
Yeah.
But look, thanks for coming on Incredible Lives with Caney, and whatever the future holds, I'm sure it's going to be a cracker.
Ditto for you too, mate. Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here.
Thanks, Tony.